All right, this is the first time I've ever spoken, so see how we go, eh? 5-star reviews on Google. All right, let's just make sure that this is working. Cool. All right, can everyone hear me okay, even up the back? Cool. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about how to unlock your genius codes. And again, before I get started, I'll just let you know that I got Wayne here to hypnotize all you guys. So by the end, you guys will be at the back buying all the programs. All right, so before we get started, I like to kind of start with our state of play. And so this is just me letting you know that for the next 30 minutes, whether you guys are open to imagine, whether you're open to play, whether you're here to have some fun, whether you're here to trust your intuition, whether you're here to follow your curiosity, whether you're conscious of your language, and the most important of all of that is be you. Okay, so first of all, what I'd like you to do is bring out your iPhone or your phone. I want you to think about someone that matters to you. So I want you to have a look through your contacts. It could be someone that comes first thing to your mind. I want you to pick someone that you trust to be truthful to you. And I want you to send them a text message or email along the following lines. I'll put it up here for you so you can follow it. All right. So what I want you to type in is, I'm at a personal development workshop. I have to ask someone I trust to answer the following questions. I'm trying to be a better person, and I'd like some feedback, please. Question 1. One thing I can improve as a person. Question 2. One thing that I might be blind to or I may not be aware of. I'll leave the slide for a couple of minutes. I'm not going to flick it across. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to have a look through that. Ten seconds left. No, not 10 seconds left. All right, 30 seconds. All right. Most people completed or still going? Still going? Hands up for still going? Okay, I'll give you 4 seconds. All right, we're just going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so what we're going to cover in the next 25, 30 minutes is 3 areas. We're going to talk about the awareness, we're going to talk about identity, and we're going to talk about your genius codes. Now, can I get you to read out the quote for me, please? Oh, yes.
The day you plan to see is not the day you eat the food.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the first section we're going to cover is awareness. So what is awareness? Awareness is the ability to look inward, to think deeply about your behavior and consider how it aligns with your moral standards and values. It's a concept about knowing, perceiving, and being cognizant of events. So why is it important to develop self-awareness? So it gives you the ability to understand and control your own emotions and actions, and it helps you to understand how these affect the emotions and actions of others. Second point, what is self-reflection? So self-reflection is a deeper form of learning that allows us to retain every aspect of that experience, be it professional, personal, why something took place, what the impact was, whether it should happen again, as opposed to just remembering that it happened. It's about tapping into every aspect of the experience, clarifying our thinking, and honing in on what really matters to us. So why is it important to develop a self-reflective practice? So without reflection, we may just go through life without thinking, moving from one thing to another, without making time to evaluate whether things are going well or not. And so this is the primary reason why we repeat the same patterns, and unfortunately, the results are that we often get stuck or we repeat that looping pattern over and over again. Can you read that out for me?
You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop.
Thank you. So the first tool that I'm going to talk through is the Johari window. How many of you, just hands up, who've seen the Johari window before? Cool, a few of you. All right, so the Johari window is a visual framework you can use to understand more about your conscious and your unconscious bias. Doing this can improve your self-awareness and your understanding of others. It can also be used as a personal development tool to build better workplace relationships. And we're here talking at a business event, so we're better to build workplace relationships. It can also be used in combination with your self-reflection practices, and I'll just walk you through what that looks like. So on the top left is the open window. So the open window is about common knowledge. And what we know about the open windows is what we know about ourselves and what others know about us. So this is kind of what you're doing in a day-to-day environment where people know about what you're doing and people know about you, and this is what you know about yourself. We're going to move across to the blind window. This feels a bit like play school. Okay. Those who know what play school is. So blind is the uncommon knowledge. And this is what others know about us, but we don't necessarily know about ourselves. Bottom left window is the hidden knowledge. So this is what we know about ourselves, but others don't know about us. And lastly, bottom right is the unknown knowledge. So this is what we don't know about ourselves, but also others don't know about us. So in order to move from the open to the blind, we have to ask questions. So in that first exercise we just did, we went through an open to blind loop. Okay, so we're asking someone about something that we don't know about ourselves. If you want to move from the open to the hidden, you have to share information. You have to tell people. Okay, so the aim with this is to start with start from the open window and then start to expand that out into the blind, into the unknown, and into the hidden. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through this in terms of different areas, how you can move across. So we just talked about the open and blind and how you move through a feedback loop. To move from the open to the hidden, it's about self-disclosure. So it's about sharing information that you feel you can trust the other person or the group of people with. To move from blind to unknown, this is about observation. So this is where you do have things like 360 feedback. You might do things like have in a coaching session, what we do is we would have a coach, a client, and an observer, and the observer gives feedback to the coach and to the client from a blind perspective in terms of what they're observing as a third person. From a coaching perspective, self-discovery, moving from hidden to unknown, For all the coaches out here, it's about creating a safe space and a supportive space for someone who's a client who feel that they can trust you and they can journey forward into the unknown areas. Can you read the quote for me, please?
When you walk away, the way appears.
Thank you. Part 2, identity. So let's start with who am I? So answering the question, who am I, is an important part of growing up. You may be asking this at multiple times throughout your life. And while the question may appear simple and straightforward, the concept of identity is complex and fluid. Some parts of your identity may stay the same throughout your life, and other parts of your identity are more fluid and change as you move. And this tends to be transitions from childhood through to adolescence and then into adulthood. So identity refers to our sense of who we are as individuals and members of social groups. It also refers to our sense of how others may perceive us and put labels on us. So let's look at some of these groups that we might be part of and just have a think about how we show up in these groups. Okay, so family and friends. What does your identity look like when you are with family and friends? For some of you here who went to school or are still in schools as teachers or facilitators, how do you show up in school, or when you were younger, how did you show up in school? If you've been part of corporate work or into organizations, bigger organizations, how did you show up at that institution? We've got 3 more here. So mass media, interests. How do you show up on social media? How do you show up in groups you're part of, whether it's your children's soccer team or whether you're following the NRL, AFL, it might be the local knitting group at the local community hall. How do you show up there? And then networking circles. So here in business, it's within your peers. There might be suppliers that you work with locally, nationally, teams that you might have cross-border, some that might be having outsourced teams overseas. You know, you have bigger networking circles that you're part of, and they all weave sort of quite a unique web around your business. So what is identity? So the answer depends in large part on who the world around me says I am. So over here, we ask the question, who am I? And over here, we've got people telling us who we are. And so what we're going to cover a little bit now in the next few slides is the difference between the conditioned state and the natural state. So the doing versus the being. So how many of you know who this guy is? Just quick hands up. Yep, cool. Okay, so over there is a guy called Nick Kyrgios. He's a professional tennis player, ranked, I think, in the top 50 in the world. Okay, that's him doing his job, just the same way you guys are here doing your job. Okay, but we have a take on what he looks like when he shows up to his job. Okay, so that's his conditioned environment, just the same way you guys are in your conditioned environment when you put on your clothes to go to work in your work environment. Over here, this is Nick in his natural environment. Okay, and this is in his being environment. Okay, there's a different identity over here, and there's a different identity over there. Now, for me, I look at this and I kind of see someone over here who he trusts himself with, he can be more vulnerable with. Can he be as vulnerable over here when he's in the middle of the court in Wimbledon playing a final against the world #1 player? The media, the people around him, the pressures, it's quite different. The same way that you guys have these pressures over here. And there's also some pressures over here. I'm not saying there's no pressures over here. I struggled to find any of you guys there, so I had to use myself. But I just want you guys to put yourself into the same position here. Okay, so that's you over here, doing the doing in your business. Okay, and then over here, you're in your being mode. Okay, so even for me here, there's multiple identities. There's a father, there's a husband, and there's other people around there too that I have to be an identity for within that. So for you guys, there's also, I'll take questions at the end. Sleep. It doesn't work for me. And so, again, I want you to look at this scenario here and see how complex it can get with identities in your life. And so we're looking here at the conditioned role or state. So conditioned states are set by learnings and experiences from our outer environment. So everything over there is your outer environment. And it's driven by external validation or expectation. So this is actually outside your sphere of control. Now let's look at the natural role or state. Natural states are set by the inner environment. They're guided by your inner knowing. And this is within your sphere of control. And this is within your sphere of influence. So how many of you know who this is? Okay. So Ash Barty is an Australian tennis player as well, and she got to world number 1. Now, before she did that, she actually retired from burnout and other stresses and things like that. Now, before she came back on the tour, she found a mindset coach who worked with her on these 3 questions. Who am I? What do I want? And how do I get there? And we moved from a doing state to a being state. And that shifted her whole game on and off the court because there was perspective. Okay, so what I want to go through here is the 4 levels of consciousness. There's a lot of information here, so I'm just trying to snapshot some of this information. If there's things that you're interested in, come and see me at the end, and I can have a chat to you guys about it. But let's start down here. Life happens to me. So at life happens to me, you feel victimized. You feel helpless, believe that you have no power. You blame outside circumstances, people, things, events for reasons why you cannot make a change. And then you elevate up to life happens as me. You believe you have control of everything. You make things happen because you are causing them to happen. You are ambitious and you are driven. Next step up is life happens through me. You believe that you are here for a reason, a bigger purpose, in touch with your higher power, and masterful with your intuition. You trust and you have faith that all your needs will be met. And then you elevate up to life happens as me. And so at this point, you know you are one with spirit and all that there is. There's no separation between you, your higher self, God, whatever you consider God is, and others. You operate from a place of deep compassion, and you are inspired to take aligned action in what you're doing. So there's no, I'm a director at this company, there's no, I'm a father, there's no, I'm a mother. It's all one. And when you're operating from up there. And what I want you guys to have a look at as well over here is that when you're operating in these 2 states, it's driven by fear and it's driven by ego. And so for me, I look at that as the doing state. When you start to operate at higher states, life happens through me and life happens as me. You're operating from trust and love inspired. So you're operating from a being state. So
The 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day that you find out why.
thank you. Okay, part 3. Genius codes. And just, not that I wanted to make attention to this, but the guy that's up there, he's actually sitting at the back of the room over there. I got him to come in just to make sure that I'm not bluffing that he's actually here. So what are your genius codes? At Hyper, we believe in advancing the human experience to the path of their purest potential, to access their single essence and share that with the world. So this singular essence is made up of your set of genius codes. The singular essence is a person's one true gift. So each one of you have a set of genius codes. And the one thing in the world they're meant to do. So for me, this is something I ask in my first session with them, is what is the one thing in the world that you're meant to do that if you don't do it, it won't get done by anyone else? So I want you to ask that to yourself. What is the one thing that I'm meant to do in this world, in my time on the planet, that if I don't do it, it won't get done by anyone else? So your genius codes are unique to you and only you. They are a set of gifts that only you have to offer and no one else can. So I know we sit here and we compete against other competitors and look at it from that perspective, but if we're actually utilizing our true genius codes, your combination of how you can do it, there's no one else in the world that can do it in that same order. And you might have the same 5 codes as someone else or 3 codes as someone else, but if you're not using it in your order, then it doesn't work. And you need to, and part of that discovery into the unknown is understanding how you dive into that unknown. As you saw the iceberg earlier, how you have to go into that deeper part. And it takes time and courage and a certain state to be able to get to there. So unlocking your genius codes. So over on this side are some of the tools that I use with my clients. And it moves from things like using intuition, somatic healing, mind, body, and heart, doing some mindset coaching. Language is a massive one. For people that you see moving into the top states, it's all about their language. They're using high frequency language. They're using language that is intentful and clear to their purpose. Rituals is another one, having daily rituals that you maintain your state all the way through, especially when there's pressure cycles. So in sport, they talk about pressure cycles. In business, you're going to have pressure cycles. End of month, end of quarter, end of year, but there's other pressure cycles around hiring, putting new people into positions, especially leadership positions. There's always pressure cycles happening that are outside our control. And when you actually tap into your genius code, you understand who you are. I'm still okay for time. Yep. Cool. If you're tapping into your genius codes and accessing that in the right order, what you'll find is you're going to have more clarity on your purpose, influence, success, love, legacy. MTP, I'll talk about another time. That's hoping Luke will have me back. So using your genius codes, you unlock and access these genius codes as you complete your inner work. The individuals we work with who are going through the process of using their genius codes are developing their skills towards mastering their craft. So again, if I look at it from what you guys are doing here, everybody here, whether they're successful or not, they're working towards mastering their craft. Whether you're an electrician, plumber, builder, lawyer, accountant, and everything in between. It's about mastering your craft and improving and getting better every day. So the people we like to work with are leaders, visionaries, change makers who do not follow the crowd. They forge their own path and will create some of the world's most impactful teams, careers, and experiences. So current humans that I believe are using their genius codes. So here are the types of humans we're here to play with in the short time that we're here on the planet. So I want you to have another think about someone who is using their genius codes right now, someone that you know or someone that you've seen. And when you think of someone who's using their genius codes, who is the first person that comes to mind for you? Just a quick show of hands if you know someone that's come top of mind. Cool. Awesome. Now I'd like you to think of someone who's not using their genius codes, someone you know that if they were using it, it would change their world, they would change their life and the life of others for the better. Could they possibly use the help of Hyper? If someone came to your mind, let them know. Your phone call, coffee chat, email or text, however small or insignificant you believe it may be, could be that little bit of inspiration, or it might bring some awareness to someone. Sorry, it will bring some awareness to something that they may be blind to, that you can see, that you understand. So it might be significant to them, and it may be a sign or invitation they've been waiting for. So what are your next steps? If this has been an interesting presentation and you've resonated with what's been said and feel the timing is right, then do something about it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You, as part of this presentation, hopefully have had a think about or had a feel into what the next right step might be for you to take. If this presentation has just been okay, I've learned something new, one thing I can take back to the business and maybe improve it a little bit, or you don't feel it's the right time, then do something about it. Even if it's with the response you get from the text message that you sent at the start of the workshop. Find a better way to better yourself and improve yourself each day. Shall we? Oh, no. I've still got time.
Your task is not to seek alone, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it.
So that's probably something Wayne talked about earlier around the barriers. So at Hyper, we specialize in working with high achieving athletes and individuals. Our Hyper programs provide these individuals with strategies on how to develop their awareness and connect back to their most natural and authentic ways of operating and showing up. This allows them to trust themselves and embrace who they are to perform at their peak. Our athletes become clear on their identity and purpose, learning to identify their core sets of values, true essence, and their genius codes. When our athletes tap into this intuitive flow state, they access and utilize their genius codes. An athlete in flow and in the zone using their genius codes is playing at the next level. We work with our clients to get them to reimagine their version of great and then help them build and leave a legacy behind that they are proud of. And it's all, for me and the people I like to work with, it's all about adding value when it's my time in the jersey. So for all of you in your jobs, in your roles, in whatever you're doing, your current time in the jersey is now. So what are you doing for the betterment of you, for the betterment of the people around you, for the community that you look after and care for? Last one.
The true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to see.
Can I go for 1 more minute? So Hyper's not for everyone. Individuals that don't resonate with the work we do are individuals who expect to solve all their challenges and problems for them without doing any of the work. Individuals who aren't ready to accept and act on and grow their gifts. Also individuals who aren't committed to investing and improving their lives. High achieving humans come to Hyper to harness their gifts and learn to use their genius codes, pivot with purpose in their life, career, or relationships, and go bigger and take their next step with clarity and certainty. So what I've done is, I'm happy to share the slides with Luke so you guys can get to the screen as well, but I've set up a web page that allows you to access 3 free assessments within there, and it's hopefully well outlined enough. I'll have that QR code at the back as well when we finish, but that's got 3 assessments and it's got 1 free session with me to go through your 3 assessments, and then let's see if we can start to identify what those genius codes are for you. Cool, and that's me.